We hope that we will have this advisory opinion, and we are working for a majority to be able to win this advisory opinion. And you know who is co-sponsoring this proposal of Mauritius? It's the Republic of India. One of the co-sponsors. And Sanehu Jagannath is going to have bilateral meetings, I've been told, with so many of the countries, with the non-aligned movement, with the Africa Union, to be able to put up a strong case, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. This is where Mauritius has reached. This is where we have reached after 50 years. And there were formidable choices to make in this country. One was independence. Half of the people of Mauritius voted almost against independence, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Those who fought for independence today can rest in peace. But even those who fought independence can rest in peace, because this nation today, 50 years later, is reconciled to the idea of freedom and independence. So may they rest in peace. They were fighting here. We are fighting today. I understand the passion of Honorable Ramanu when it comes to Katobone. I am a town planner. I can understand him. I can understand the apprehensions of the people. But I hope that today, after the explanation that I'm going to give, we have to make a choice, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. India supported us, will support us, and I was very interested when I went to China. You know what is happening in the world today? Because this budget has to be put in perspective. What is happening in the world today? The United States is recoiling upon itself. The United European Union is looking for its own cohesion. There are only two continents rising up, the two superpowers of India and China in Asia, and the new continent with all the opportunities in Africa. Where are we? We are in the middle. And who are standing by our side? Countries like India, countries like China. This is the geopolitics of this modern world today. And this is where we have to think what to do, what are the opportunities, what are the challenges to raise to be able to provide a better future for our new generation. This is the challenge, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. China has come with an extraordinary infrastructure project called the One Belt, One Road, linking China to Europe and to the Middle East and to Africa. Japan and India have come with the Japan-India initiative. We have massive billions with the China-Africa Fund. We have massive billions with the Japan-Africa Fund, with the India-Africa Fund. And last week, you know, there was a representative of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Tourism who came from Japan with 12 of the biggest companies in the world, because they want to set a regional office in Mauritius to provide for the market in Africa. Yeah. This is where we are. And tiny Mauritius has to play its role. We have to become the star and key of the Indian Ocean again. History has changed 50 years later, but geography hasn't changed. We have 2.4 million kilometers of ocean. And this is the ambition that we have, to be able to provide, to be the stepping stone to Africa. Because Africa, infrastructure, investment, job creation is going in Africa to be massive. And there are the two superpowers standing up, India and China, to be able to see how to explore the possibilities in that market. And we can be the regional hub. We can be the platform. We can be the stepping stone, just like we are with the Office of the World Bank, the Office of the International Monetary Fund. We can have companies, big companies from China coming to Mauritius, twinning with Mauritius to go into Africa. And this budget has to be placed in its right perspective, Mr. Speaker, sir, and Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And the development of Agaliga has to be seen in that perspective. It has to be seen in that perspective because it places Mauritius with all the latest technology in the middle of the Indian Ocean, with an airport, with a jetty. My friend, the Honorable Minister of Local Government, explained, I have been to Agalega. We all know how dangerous it is to be able to get on shore. We know how beautiful this island is. Why can't it become a cruise terminal? Why cannot Agalega become a cruise terminal with the ships coming from, the cruise ships from the Indian Ocean, berthing at Agalega? So this is how we have to see it. Not see it as a tiny dot, but to see it in the whole ocean between the emerging giants of Africa, of Asia, and the continent of tomorrow, Africa. Mr. Speaker, sir, the future of the ocean economy has to be seen in that perspective as well. And we are doing everything to be able to explore all the possibilities that we have. An island of 60 kilometers by 40. But where is our future? This is what we have to decide now. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there was a question saying that why does India help countries like Mauritius when India needs the rupees for its own people in India? But this is the foreign policy of a giant, which helped in the decolonization of Africa and the colonized world. This is the legacy of the Nehrus, of the Gandhis, to help to stand up like a big brother when you have small countries, small little Mauritius. And I was very happy to hear the Speaker of the National Lok Sabha on a dinner. And she said, she summed it up in one sentence. She says, we have a relation of blood and history, and each time Mauritius will fight for its development, India will stand by its side. This is in this perspective that you have to place the grant of $12.7 billion, the loan of $500 million. We have to see where we are. We are not only, Mauritius is not small. We are not a small country. We have to place ourselves dans le concert des nations. And we have a role to play because we have a special relationship with India, because the Prime Minister has a special relationship with the Prime Minister Modi, because in the past we had special relationship with South Africa. This is where we have to rise up. We have to stand up like a little great country, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Let me now continue, because in the 70s, India gave us the MGI. Oh, true, those millions could have helped to make some housing units in India. But you see the symbolism of it. It hosted the ACP summit here at the MGI. That it gave to Mauritius something, a shop window. In the same manner, India gave us the possibility of having the cyber city, where we had sugarcane fields on the Ilovodil. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in the same manner, the Swami Vivekananda Center, to the Convention Center today, is a venue for international conferences. How did we get it? Why did we get it? I remember a PNQ in 2005, because there was a problem. That center was to be provided for by December for the summit. And myself and Honorable Bhagwan, we went to New York to say, he was with me, to say that we couldn't provide the center. He's a master in politics, I said. He's a master in politics. He was with me and we met. We met the Secretary General to explain to him that this convention center is not going to be ready. And it's going to be ready only in March for the SIDS conference. And there was a PNQ of the Labour Party, you know, about duty-free cars. I remember this. But that's what I'm saying. We are a great little country. And we should think of things which are big. This is our destiny. to be a shop window for Africa, to be a destiny for the world, because our vivre ensemble is a model in the world today. That's why we are here. I listen to the debates. It's a very good thing. Debates have to be done, but decisions have to be taken. Mr. Speaker, sir, there is so much that we will achieve with India in the years to come. There is so much we will achieve with India in the years to come. We have the Prime Minister who has a long career. We have Mr. Modi. We know all Prime Ministers from India have come to this country. They have graced this land. All presidents of India have graced this land. This is a unique and special relationship. Let me now come to December 2014. In December 2014, we had, I'm answering to those who said that we are leading the country to bankrupt. We are going to be indebted. In December 2014, the government then had already almost allocated a contract of 24.5 billion to Afcon for the light rail. And it was on this program that the MMM, Labour Party, had gone to the elections. Over and above this, the government had committed with WIG for a decongestion program of 25 billion, with a dream bridge of 10 billion, we've told, and a tunnel of 5 billion, we've told. Over and above that, the country had committed itself with Air Mauritius to buy aircraft for 75 billion. So what would have happened if the MMM and the Labour Party had been in government? What would have happened? What would have Honorable Ramano said then? Now, if Air Mauritius with 75 billion goes bust, because the Honorable Leader of the Opposition was saying, what happens if this goes bust and if the metro goes bust in 2 years? What would have happened if Air Mauritius goes bust with 75 billion? Who would have paid? So again, it's a question of responsibility. What we have done, we have reduced this decongestion to 10 billion. We have reduced this Metro Express to around half of, we are getting it from India, about 10 billion. This 75 billion or so of aircraft has been re-engineered, and the two aircrafts coming for A350 in November and December, they are going to be leased. Isn't this responsibility? They are saying that we are leading this country to bankruptcy. We are taking important decisions which have to be taken, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So, let us come to growth. I am convinced that we are going to break the glass ceiling of 4% this year. We are going to get, listen to me, we are going to get out of the middle income trap slowly.
Order.
I think everybody wishes so. I think everybody wishes so. Why I'm saying so? Because let me now tell you what happens in the infrastructure and construction industry. In 2014, we had a negative 7% recession. In 2015, we had a negative 3% recession. In 2016, we have now a growth, and this year we are getting at least 5 to 7%. I'm going to explain to you what are the projects which are coming, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So, with all the resilience of some sectors, with tourism, for example, doing well, financial services doing well, I am convinced that we will break the ceiling of 4% next year, and we will continue with a cycle of sustained growth. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let me say now a few things which have happened in my sector. I'm going to a few other issues later. The Omnicane project of 600 million in the south will be delivered next month. The Terre Rouge Verdun repairs will be completed in 9 months. I would like to explain here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, because there was a criticism from the MMM saying that we are taking so much time to repair the Terre Rouge Verdun. We have to understand, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that this is a very complex area. You had 5 landslides, the tests were not done, and we couldn't do some quick fix. We couldn't do that. So we had to understand what is happening. To understand this, we had a report from the Japan International Cooperation Agency. We had a second report from the ARQ company in South Africa, and we had a third report from the Korea Express Corporation from Korea. And the reports showed that it was a massive failure which could have been prevented if the proper tests had been done. Do you know what is happening there? Those who have gone past. We are removing 140,000 meters square of aggregates and soil. This is, in total, no less than 3,000 lorry loads. Because we were told that we could do 2 solutions. What were the stone columns, vertical, or the horizontal solution, that is we remove, scrap everything. We go to the rock structure and then we do the filling to be able to have the road repaired. And this is going to take 8 months. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we were responsible for the failure. We are not responsible for the failure. There was a question that Honorable Bhagwan had put. I explained that. And let me tell you one thing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. In Cabinet, the Prime Minister then, Sanigo Jagannath, told me, what is the guarantee that the road will not fail somewhere else? And in fact, there was a landslide with 3,000 tons of mud which covered the 6 lanes, which we have repaired. So we have to do what has to be done, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So the repairs are going to be done. Now we are extending the Terre-Rouge-Verdun to Arsenal. This is going to be completed in a month. The repairs to the ring road, which collapsed, which was also a very complex nature, this has been done, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Let me come now, we have been mentioning the decongestion. That is the Jumbo Phoenix and the A1M1. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have to do what has to be done. The soils test, all that has to be done. And then we have to go by the procurement laws. You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we just to pre-qualify 6 out of 14 of the biggest companies in the world. For the first time, the biggest companies in the world has been requested to give a bid for the construction of the Jumbo Phoenix flyover and the A1M1 bridge, which is 140 meters. You have Daewoo, Larsen & Toubro, Bolloré, the Chinese companies. At the Public Procurement Office, it took me 3 months. So and there was a challenge. Now all the documents have been sent to the 6 bidders. They will come with an offer in 2 months. That's why we have said that the works are going to start in 3 months, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Let me now continue with the southwest connection, which will start in La Vigie, will go to La Marie, to Oyeta, to Bosonge, and to Flic-en-Flac. This road is costing 1.3 billion, and it will help the traffic from the south to reach the west. A tourist coming from the south, that is from the airport, will go directly to Flic-en-Flac without hitting Cupip, Vacqua, La Louise, Quatre-Beaunes. It will go directly there. And this is going to be one of the solutions for Quatre-Beaunes. I'm going to mention others. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the port to Jingfei, 3rd lane will start this year. Tenders have been floated and works are starting in 3 months. This is 300 million. Re-engineering of the roundabouts and flyovers of Saint-Jean. What is happening in Saint-Jean, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? Everybody leaving Quatre-Beaunes goes to Saint-Jean. They go to Saint-Jean to Rosehill, they go to Saint-Jean to Port-Louis, and they go to Saint-Jean to Cupip. So everybody sees Saint-Jean as a tunnel. What are we going to do now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir? We are going to re-engineer that roundabout, going to Jambu, coming to Saint-Jean, and what we are doing is we are doing a link road from Terre Rouge Verdun connecting to Sodnac directly over the highway M1. It will pass just in front of this huge, the building, this huge 3 buildings which are the towers, Emerit. So we are connecting Terre Rouge Verdun directly to Sodnac, which would mean that when you come from Terre Rouge Verdun, you don't have to go Saint-Jean. You go directly to Sodnac. From Sodnac now, you can come in and join the motorway towards Rosil, because we have just finished the roundabout. Coming from Port Louis now, when you reach Eben, you turn left, and you have a roundabout, and then you go inside Eben. We are correcting that as well. And from Port Louis, when you come, you won't have to go to Saint-Jean to enter Quatre-Beaunes. You will take that roundabout and cross the M1 and go to Sodnac. So the idea, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is to reduce the fluidity and the number of traffic on the main road from Saint-Jean to La Louise. Now, for Quatre-Beaunes, they can go to the south via Bossonge, La Marie, La Vigie, and to the south. And we are going to re-engineer the whole of Quatre-Beaunes. This is how we are going to consider. I will come back to the Metro Express a bit later, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Now, let me come now. No. Order. Thank you. We are constructing a 3rd lane from Bois-Chéry to Gambassin. This is going to be finished in a few months. And we are doing the stabilization work from De Frères to Bel-Air, and this is ongoing. And then, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, this year, we resurfaced 49 kilometers in 2 months. Come on. I said, Rosil is in there. You know this. I told you. Rosil is... No. Rosil is in there. 49 kilometers in 2 months, finishing in in July. We built 13 kilometers of footpath, 15 kilometers of handrail, 11 kilometers of guardrail, 108 kilometers of road marking, 800 meters square of traffic signs, and 30 kilometers of hard shoulder, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And we have all the other projects. I'm not going to mention those projects because we are going to have the committee stage. Most probably, my colleagues will ask a number of questions and will be there to answer. Now let me come to the metro. Why the metro? Why have we been talking of the metro since 1995 or even before? Why? And the MSM has been consistent on one thing about the metro. Throughout, since I've been here, since 95, before I was here, the metro has been a top priority, a consistent project of the MSM. What do you have today? You have 6 billion rupees of congestion that cost us, 4 billion rupees of accidents, and 2 billion rupees of subsidy, which is not accountable because we don't know how we spend those 2 billion. But how do we correct this? We take the two options, bus lane and metro. Let us take the bus lane now. If we are to have a bus lane from Cupip to Port Louis, we will have to build a lane from Cupip to Saint-Jean and to Port Louis. We have to build another lane from Vacqua to Saint-Jean and to Port-Louis. We have to build another lane from Quatre-Beaunes to Saint-Jean and to Port-Louis, and we have to connect Rosil to Réduit on the bus lane. How can we heap on that bus lane all these buses? First. The second thing is, what is the reliability of such a system? The third, what is the reliability that we are going to be on time? So the bus lane is not an option for another reason. I see very few people leaving their car to take a bus to come to Port-Louis. For a number of other reasons, I'm going to give you another reason now. We have 2,000 buses in Mauritius, out of 550,000 vehicles. So that's 0.6% of the fleet. Do you know what is the percentage of accidents involving buses? It's 6%. So in a bus, you have 10 times more accidents with the buses in Mauritius than with a car or any other vehicle. Now, with the bus lane heaping on, where are we going to have the other lanes for the other traffic? Let me now come to the metro that we are building. A lot of people think that it's just a line of a railway line connecting the different cities in Mauritius. That is not at all the case, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I would like to say that the metro line, the alignment that we have today, is exactly the same that we had in the past with the railway system, except for two segments. In Jambu, we had to cross Sudnak and come to reach the center of Quatre-Beaunes, which is today impossible because of the density of population. We cannot do that. That's why it has been chosen to go through the Saint-Jean. Now, the other segment where there is a difference in alignment is from Pai to Victoria. In the past, it went along the motorway. Now it is going to the foot of Mount Signal Mountain, and then it crosses Moka Street and reaches Kodang. Apart from these two small segments, nothing has been changed from the alignment that we had in the past. Now, when it comes to Quatre-Beaunes, the question was asked, could we build it on structures? It would have been awful, terrible. So we have asked the Singaporeans to do a thorough exercise, to consider all the aspects of the metro entering into Quatre-Beaunes. And the four measures I have mentioned: re-engineering of the roundabout of Saint-Jean, connecting the M1 to Sudnak, connecting Terre Rouge Verdun to Sudnak, re-engineering the traffic within Quatre-Beaunes, and the access of Quatre-Beaunes to the south via Bosonge. These are the measures we have decided, and we want to implement those measures within 2 years to be able to free the main corridor, because that is the corridor, as I said, in the minds of all people living in Quatre-Beaunes. You have to go to Saint-Jean, to go to Rosil, to Port-Louis, and to Vacqua. When it comes now as regards to the number of lanes, the metro, as have been proposed by the technical team, is going to be in the middle, and you'll have 2 lanes of traffic, one going to La Louise and one going to Saint-Jean, and shoulders on the sides. Once the contract will be signed, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we will come to the House, we will come everywhere to explain to people why those technical choices have been made. There is one thing I couldn't come in the House because I'm going to explain the figures. give a figure today and tomorrow come back to the House to say, listen, we were not so sure about it. I cannot come with a solution today and say that, listen, we contemplated that solution and we are not able today to implement that solution. I've given the reasons why Quatre-Beaune, that's the way it is. And the reasons, what are the mitigating measures that we have provided in the next 2 years and what we are going to implement in the months to come. Let me come now to the figures. The figures are 17.7. That figure was mentioned by myself in the House here, and this is the figure which the Singapore Corporation Enterprise gave us with a number of adjustments from the project of 24.5 billion, which was advocated by the former government. And I would like to say that in the 24.5 billion, there was a one item called preliminaries, and that was 4 billion. And we asked the Singaporeans what it is all about, and they said it's a percentage of the project. The figure of 17.7 billion was given to us, and I came here in the House to give this figure. Now, there is a project value of 20.9, which has been mentioned in the budget. So there were a lot of questions saying that you mentioned 17.7, now you're coming to 20.9, how come? This difference, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, relates to site works, consultancy costs. For example, Rights from India is going to supervise it, project planning, compensation, and some other miscellaneous costs. As regards to the project itself, the two bidders have already made their offers. The Singapore Corporation Enterprise has considered the two offers. They have made a number of queries to the two companies, Larsen & Toubro and Afscons. They went to Singapore and they have arrived this morning to have working sessions with the Metro Express Limited, and they are going to have a face-to-face negotiation and discussion with Afscon and with Larsen & Toubro tomorrow and the day after. And they're going back to Singapore, and they're going to come back. In 3 weeks, we will be able to be in a position where we can award the contract, mid-July. What I can say as regard to the 17.7 is that this is a reference figure, and we are working very hard to be able to have a contract around that sum. We are working very hard to have a contract around that sum, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. There was also the issue of the 13 kilometer and the 30 kilometer. The 13 kilometer is linked to one thing, is that we have two options. Either we start in Port Louis and in Cupip at the same time, and 4 years later, we meet up in Rosehill. Or we do Port Louis, Rosehill, and then we go a second, and it becomes operational, and we have a second segment from Rosehill to Cupip. The 13 kilometers, in fact, is from Port Louis to Rosehill if this option is adopted and the budget provides for this. 30 now, it was told that 30 kilometers in 2030. What does that mean? Because we had said 30 kilometers because we were considering the possibility of having an extension between Réduit and Eben and Rosehill. Because, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, there was another question saying that we are asking the people from the rural areas to pay for the urban population. But the metro is a national network. The London Underground was not built in a day. It has to have a backbone. And the backbone is from Cupid to Port Louis. We want to have a north-south, east-west network. And hopefully we will have it. Yes, this is the backbone. So 17.7%, we are working on it to be able to be around that figure. 20.7, I have explained, it is linked with a number of other costs which has nothing to do with the project value, with the project cost. And third, I explained that why we have put 30 kilometers, it's an extension. And in the end, we want to have a metro from Mayberg to Gambé and from east to west. This country, that's why I said we have to make a choice. Do we want to be with 2,000 buses, half of them are 12, 10 years old, with all our stations remaining the same for the last 40 years, with all buses, and they are parking for buses? This is the Mauritius that we want to give away, to give to our next generation? No, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. We are doing something else. That's what I said. It's not a railway line. It's a remodeling of the whole of urban Mauritius. Let me explain to you now. Cupid, Vakwa, Quatre-Bonnes, Rosehill, and Port Louis, Victoria, and Immigration are going to be urban terminals. And urban terminals are like airports, where the bus will come, where the train will come. You're going to have food courts. You're going to have a stall for the hawkers. You're going to have offices. You're going to have services. You're going to have shops. You're going to have malls and une place de vie. This is what we are doing. And, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, one of these projects in Victoria, we launched a request for proposal for Victoria. And a consortium of 6 local companies have made an offer of 1.5 billion rupees of investment, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, with the government of Mauritius just leasing the land. Just leasing the land for 60 years. And this project is going to be presented to Cabinet on the 30th of this month. And we are working on Immigration Square. We are working on Place Margeo with my colleague, the Deputy Prime Minister. We are working on Cupid. We are working on Vakwa. And we are working on Quatre-Bonnes. This is going to be a golden opportunity for Quatre-Bonnes to have an urban terminal which would be like an airport. And let me tell you one thing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. From that terminal, in 10 minutes, you are in Rosehill. In 10 minutes, you are in Vakwa. In 20 minutes, you are in Port Louis. In 20 minutes, you are in Cupid. And you're going on time, on the minute. And now my friend is saying that I can understand him. I can understand his passion. But we have to have change in this. This is the decision. This is the decision that we have to take. Just imagine Mauritius. Just imagine Mauritius with the regeneration of all our cities. And all our bus parkings today, what are they? C'est des cimetières de bus. This is what we want to, c'est ce qu'on veut léguer à l'île Maurice de demain, à nos générations. Mais non, Monsieur le Président. So we want a remodeling, a regeneration. So these 6 terminals will generate private investment to the tune of about 6 to 7 billion rupees, with jobs, with facilities, with modernization. And you know what is going to happen at Victoria? We're going to have an esplanade, 80 meters crossing the motorway to link the old city with Codan, where people don't want to go because of the underpasses. This is the urban regeneration with the Metro Express, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And I would like to say the 2 big producers today, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, you have a metro line in 200 cities. It is considered to be the safest of modes of transport. A light rail, travels 20 to 25 kilometers in the city and can drive up to 80 kilometers between segments where you don't have residential houses. For example, between Richelieu and Paille, So it can go up to 80 kilometers, but in the city it goes to 20 to 25 kilometers, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Let me continue. The two producers now, yeah, I'm coming. The two producers now, Bombardier and CAF, have produced 25,000 light rail trains. This is what we are bringing to Mauritius, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. We, as I said, the light rail is built for cities. It has an interface with the city, with all the traffic. It has a system of sensors, electronic systems to be able to drive safely for the metro and for the people, for the other users of the road. LRTs are seen to be extremely safe, and we believe that we will reduce the number of accidents because we believe that we are going to have less people. We'll have about 10 to 15% of people driving cars who will park their cars and take the metro. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, as I said, the consultants have worked thoroughly all the options regarding Quatre-Bonnes. And I would like also to say,
Honorable Kalicha, please.
And I would like to say, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in all the scenarios, before 2014, now and before, the metro was always at grade between Saint-Jean and Quatre-Bonnes. This is a fallacy to say that it was elevated and we have brought it. No. The solution, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is to reduce traffic on this Quatre-Bonnes Saint-Jean road, and to do all that I have proposed to do within 2 years. We are budgeting this. This has to be done within 2 years to show to the people of Quatre-Bonnes that this can be done, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Now, as I said, in 20 minutes from Quatre-Bonnes, you're in Port Louis, and on the minute, because the train arrives on the minute and reaches Port Louis on the minute. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, regards to the capital expenditure. The former government was supposed to spend 24.5 billion. And you know why we said we shelved this project? Because when the Prime Minister was Minister of Finance, he was sitting here in the Labour MSM government, PMSD government. We had fought for the metro to be in the program of the 2011-2015 mandate. And when he did the first meeting, the metro was about 11 billion. And then it reached 12. And then we heard in 2014 that it has jumped to 24.5 billion. That's why we said we can't afford this. There is something wrong. And every project of the Labour government spiraled with overruns. We all know what happened to Terrouge Verdun, what happened to the airport. So when we said 24.5 billion, I think we could say 30 billion. So we said we can't have this project. That's why we shelved the project. Now, this project was supposed to cost 24.5 billion, and what did the Prime Minister then achieve? He got a 200 million line of credit from India. What was going to happen to the rest? It was going to be another line of credit, another loan. So that metro was supposed to cost 24.5 billion, funded by loans. And that was considered then to be feasible. It was considered then to be sustainable. And and our friend, Honorable Ramano, he went to campaign on this in Quatre-Bonnes. Did you find that was in your manifesto? Order. He went to campaign on this on a metro of 24.5 billion on loans. Now he's asking whether it's feasible. Now he is asking, Order. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, whether this is feasible. And what is feasible? A metro which is costing less with half of the money given by grant. So a metro which was costing 24.5 billion on loan by the former government on the manifesto of the MMM and the Labour Party was feasible. But a metro costing the people of Mauritius around 8-9 billion, paid by half the grant of Mauritius, this is not feasible. This is not commercially viable. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we should know what we are about talking about. We have to compare what is to be compared. Now this metro, the one that we are doing, is going to cost half of the money is being a grant from India. Half of it is going to be a line of credit of 1.8% with 4 years moratorium on interest and 7 years moratorium on capital. But let me tell you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are working as soon as we have the figure of the contract. We have requested the SC, the Singapore Corporation Enterprise, to make a business plan for 15 years to show, and I'm going to bring this to the House. We have to show it to people that we are not bankrupting this country, Mr. Deputy Speaker, because we owe it. There has been a lot of criticism that we are opaque. There's no transparency. We don't know anything about it. Let me tell you one thing. The leader of the opposition, he wrote one line about a dream bridge of 10 billion in his budget of 2011. I'm asking him now. He's not here. What, was it transparent then? Was there any feasibility study? They wrote about a tunnel for 5.2 billion with toll. Was it seen whether it was feasible, whether the Mauritian people would have paid a toll to take that bridge or to take the tunnel? And now they are saying that the only problem, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that we have our hands tied. I didn't want to come to this House with a figure and then come to say that this cannot be done. But as soon as we have the figure, we can factor in all the capital expenditure, all the operational costs, all the feasibility, and we will give it to the public to show that we are building modern Mauritius and we are not leading the country to bankruptcy. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, some have said that the metro is going to cost 100 billion, 50 billion, 40 billion, but we are going to come with the figures, and it is what I want, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is to have the company which will be awarded the contract to do a press conference to say this contract is mine, and this is the term, these are the terms of the contract, this is the budget allocated to me, and I'm going to work within that budget, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. This is what we want to do. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, subsidy. Yes, very good. Today we are spending 2 billion. What do we do with it? Whom are we subsidizing? Whom are we subsidizing? We have made a figure, 60% of students, free travel, 40% of elderly. Who did this figure? Who checked whether this figure for the last 15 years, 10 years, because it was done in 2005. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition was the Minister of Finance for so many years. We have done a Price Waterhouse survey to say whether it was done properly, how to do it next. And we have been told how to do it. We need to have a smart card, which will be used for parking, for bus travel, and for the metro. And I am launching the first smart card next week with Rosehill Transport, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So that you can travel with a smart card. But now let me tell you one thing. I have seen the metro in a number of places. I have seen the metro in a number of places, and I must say to you, the success of the metro is to be able to carry every potential person in the catchment area. We need to, as we say in Bhojpuri, Chan Maro. That is, we have to take all the potential passengers should be able to take the metro. How do we do it? This is called the last mile, from the station to home. If you come from a metro every 4 or 5 minutes, and then you wait there and you don't know how to go home, you will be tapped.
Please.
You will be tapped. You will be tapped. You will stay on the station. So we are coming with a system of feeder buses, which are going to be shuttled in the catchment area regularly so that they can just take the person from their home to the train. And we will include the fare in the general fare, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So we have to work. That's why I'm saying that the bus companies, they need not to worry. The workers need not worry because we will be needing them as feeders in the catchment area. I take, for example, Vakwa. It will go up to Ayeta. It will go to Hermitage. In Quatre-Bonnes, it will go to La Sousse. It will go to Palma. And it will be able, this is what we are working on, this is our priority, to be able to address the needs of all the potential commuters from their home to the metro. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Now, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, may I ask you one thing? Sitting here, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I have listened carefully to everyone and I have never disturbed anybody. They can bear testimony to that. So they should give way to me because this is a very important national issue and I want to put forward our argument. Debate is a debate, as I said, but the choice has to be made in the name of history. This is what we are doing today, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'll always say that this is the place where history is written every minute. Anything can happen. Honorable Colin Davonu knows this very well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, he decided to resign on the spur of the moment in 1989. He noted. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, so there is no need
Order, please.
to instill fear in people that we are going to harass them, that we are going to change the way they live. On the contrary, we are providing a sophisticated, attractive, reliable, and affordable mass transit system to this country, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And this is what we have to do, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. And I am convinced that after I have given all these arguments, that we have shown our conviction, our sincerity of purpose, and our loyalty to the nation. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. This is why I mentioned that we stand up here, we speak, we make debates, but we have to see what we are doing. We are sincerely believe, we are committed. We sincerely believe that this will transform Mauritius. And it's 5 billion rupees of injection in the economy every year for 4 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. With all the jobs it will create, with all the opportunities it will create. Et on aura le chantier national qu'on a toujours voulu avoir et qui est en train de se mettre en place, Monsieur le Président. Before concluding, because I don't want to address many other issues, I would like to say a few things. First of all, on challenges. The MSM government, with other parties in the 80s, in the 2000, in the 2015, has had cycles. In the 80s, we built up the country with the Industrial Revolution and made modern Mauritius. Everybody knows this. In 2000, with the MMM, we laid the foundation of another modern Mauritius, and we had a cyber city where you had sugarcane fields. The debt in 95 was 37 billion. It was doubled by 2 in 2000. It came to 74 billion with the Labour Party and the PMSD. Nothing was done. We moved from, in 2005, from 74 billion to 110, 115 billion, and we built about 50 schools. We built the cyber city. We of course, the debt increases, but we use the money, not fair jalsa, we use the money to build the country. You have to build a country. Infrastructure equals development. Development equals jobs and prosperity. We have to do that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So, I will come now to a few issues because I heard some comments on the Betamax saga, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. But we went to the people during the campaign to say that c'était un contrat abusif en béton. So when we came back to power with the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, it was our duty to see to it whether this contract could be rescinded. We did. We did. But you can't negotiate with somebody who doesn't want to negotiate and stay put. Now let me tell you one thing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. In spite of all that has been said, I'm not going to add. I would like to add one thing. Do you know that the Red Eagle is the only ship of its kind in the world? Do you know this? You know why? Because it carries all the different types of oil, which is never done. This is never done. Why? Light jet fuel for the airplane has to be carried out at a certain temperature so that it doesn't evaporate, otherwise it's going to be dangerous. Black oil, if you don't carry it at a higher temperature, it will stiffen to become hard, and so usually you have a ship carrying black oil and diesel, or you'll have a ship carrying white oil, jet fuel, and it's never done in the same boat. This is a boat which is not, in fact, it was made to measure for 15 years, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So this is something I wanted to add to the debate. This is what I wanted to add to the debate. So the boat itself, the technicality of it, is the only boat in the world which can do that. C'est très dangereux. Let me tell now on the the one word on the drug issue. We were here, my colleagues were here, we were in the opposition, we were shouting, on était en train de supplier, parce que le leader de l'opposition a choisi ce mot. On était en train de supplier le docteur Namouram pour qu'il mette une commission d'enquête. 10 ans. For 10 years we did that. You can see the number of questions, all my colleagues, but he never did that. We always had the courage to do it. We did it in 86. We are doing it now. And I see the results, the seizure. I see that the weight is done. Now let me tell you one thing. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition, in fact, mentioned something which is very interesting. It's about the drug issue in the world today. You know that synthetic drug, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, fentanyl. Fentanyl is particularly attractive to criminals because it is so potent that with only 1-2 milligram of the stuff, enough to cause an overdose. It is easy to hide in letters and small packages that are sent by post. The rewards are enormous. 1 kilo of fentanyl costs $4,000 to buy from China and yields profits of $1.6 billion on the streets. By contrast, 1 kilo of heroin costs around $6,000, but it is worth a few $100,000. Another figure which is very important, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. Today we have 800 different types of synthetic drugs. 800. And the synthetic drugs are made in massive quantities in India, in China. And they are made in China and flooded in the market, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. So that's what I wanted to say. How horrendous is this challenge? And to be able to win this challenge, we need the commitment of one and all, and to see to it that politics does not prevent us from winning this battle. Because with the Commission of Inquiry, with what is being done as regards to law enforcement, I'm convinced, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that we will win this war. But then the whole important thing again is the role of the parents, the role of responsible parties. Iceland has won the battle against cigarette, alcohol, and drugs. It's very interesting to see how they have done it. You know how they have done it? Somebody who is vulnerable, the young, he should never be left alone with his peers. It should be the parents, or the teachers, or the responsible party, or somebody to be always with him to prevent him from falling prey to these drugs. They did a survey about at what age the first cigarette is smoked, at what age the first glass of alcohol is taken. Let's say it's 13. So they say, why don't we push it? We to work on it so that we push it to 15. It will be 2 years one. And then they have at 10 o'clock curfew. Young people cannot buy alcohol, cannot do. This is where we are. If we want to win this battle, we have to find a solution for Mauritius, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. There was something else I wanted to, there are many issues. I would like also to congratulate my colleague, the Minister of Education. This extraordinary reform of 9-year schooling. It is just coming like à la poste. But can you imagine a reform in schools? How many years it would have taken? How many debates? But we have achieved this. But nobody talks about it. We have reduced the cost of the price of flour by 1 rupee, and they are mentioning 10 cents the bread. Okay? Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let me ask you and ask the House, what would have happened if we had increased it by 1 rupee? If we had increased it by 1 rupee, there would have been a PNQ on the effect of this. And then you would have a huge débat de misérabilistes pour dire pourquoi this 1 rupee is going to spiral. A lot of people are not going to have a loaf of bread. But because we have reduced it by 1 rupee, well, it's 10 cents. I have done a PNQ on an increase of 1 rupee as leader of the opposition, Mr. Speaker, sir. This is politics. I can understand them. I can understand them, Mr. Speaker, sir. But if you had increased it by 1 rupee, it would have been the talk of the town. But this is politics, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I think that before resuming my seat, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, before ending on the metro, Honorable Ratna read what the Honorable Roshi Bada said about the metro last year. So I'm going to read it. The Honorable... The Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Development have left no stones unturned to introduce measures to stimulate economic growth, to kickstart major capital projects, to bring reforms whilst at the same time committing unprecedented resources to alleviate poverty. This year we have the negative income tax, which is a formidable measure. This type of budget, Madam Speaker, is indeed very rare. It enhances credibility. Credibility in terms of our motives, credibility in terms of the strength of the government's economic management politics. Madam Speaker, the decision of the Honourable Minister of Finance and the Economic Development to invest the grant of 12.7 billion, which I negotiated with the Republic of India in development priorities, shows his wisdom and his foresight to bring the highest returns, both in terms of economics and social benefits. As is stated in his budget speech, the money should be invested so that our children and their children can as well benefit. Now, revamping our towns and villages requires a durable solution to traffic jams and better town and country planning. The previous Labour government would have spent 24.5 billion on what they call a Metro Léger project, which seemed more like a Metro Lourd project, Madam Speaker. Not only because of the excessive and abusive costs, but also the time wasted to conceptualize the project with excessive elevations and stations which were not priorities and therefore, like the Labour government, not required. Madam Speaker, our Metro Express will be implemented at a much lower expenditure level than the Labour regime had envisaged. The grant obtained from India will provide so many billions to the Metro Express, which will include a network of modern integrated urban terminals with appropriate provision for parking facilities, food courts, commercial spaces, dedicated walk areas, and green spaces. Madam Speaker, my question, what does the population at large want? The opposition will say they want elections and they want the opposition in. Do you really think, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, do you really think, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, that the people of Mauritius want the opposition today to be in government? Do they? I'm finishing with it. Honorable Balamudi, do we really think that the population in this country want to have the opposition of today in government? Now? Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, sir, the answer is definitely no. What this population wants is this government to succeed. And we will succeed. This is what the population wants, to see us succeed. Because we have a mandate and we want to succeed. Madam, Mr. Speaker, Deputy Speaker, sir, we are born to build. Nous sommes les bâtisseurs. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we have the commitment. The Prime Minister is the man of conviction and achievement. We have the conviction, we have the sincerity of purpose, and we love this country, and we are loyal and consistent in the way we relate to our country. We should be consistent. I'm saying so for the leader of the opposition. You need to be consistent. We have to build carré according to procedures. Because we have to go by procedures. And I here pay tribute to the Deputy Prime Minister and all our partners of the Alliance. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am convinced that the promise of clean energy will be met. I am convinced that the challenge of water on a 24/7 basis will be achieved by the time we finish our mandate. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we are blessed. We are blessed because as soon as the Bagatelle Dam was built, we had the rain to swell it, and I am convinced that we will accomplish our mission. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the budget is one more step in our new endeavor. It shows the way to us, builders. We have always built in the 80s, in the beginning of this millennium. Now, we are builders together with the nation, and the Prime Minister must be congratulated for this. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I am convinced that the population outside wants this government to succeed. And we have to work hard to succeed. And when we stand up next year in Parliament, we would have walked a long way towards our future. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.